Hello everyone. In our previous lecture, we talked about Move 2, occupying the niche in the results section. Today we're going to focus on Move 3, construing the niche. So as we've talked about before, there are three moves within the results section, and Move 3 is another very important move in the results section as it's used to comment on the specific findings in your study. So this move is mandatory in the results section. Remember that even though we're talking about these moves in order, 1, 2, 3, etc., they can appear in different orders or mixed together in your own paper as well as the papers you might read in your field. We use Move 3 to comment on and to interpret the original results of your study, and to do that within the context of the particular study that you conducted, and also possibly to connect those results to existing knowledge in the field at large. So the results in this move are discussed through comparisons, explanations, interpretations, and other sorts of deliberation that can go beyond just the objective stating of those results. So let's look at the different steps that are within Move 3. There are 4 steps for us to look at today, and we're going to go through each step separately, discuss its purpose, and then look at some examples. And as I just said about the moves, remember that although we list the steps in a linear order, they can occur in different orders as well as combined together, depending on the particular needs of your study or the study that you're reading. Okay, so let's look at Step 1, within Move 3. Step 1 is comparing results with literature. And the function of this step is really, as it says, to compare and contrast what you found in your study with other existing literature, or theoretical beliefs, or fundamental assumptions, predictions, background that people hold about your field. And we use this step for several important functions. We might highlight the similarities or possibly also the differences between the results that we found in our particular study and the results that other people found in the past. We also might use this step to support any sort of explanation or claim that we're trying to make about what is known. We might use this step to show how our results that we obtained in our study relate to other knowledge, other existing research that someone else has done in the past. We also might use this to help strengthen the credibility of our findings. Some other author also found similar results, and we could compare that and say, look, this is within the realm of what we expect. So let's look at this one example here. We've got this increase in membrane resistance over a cycle is also consistent with previous results obtained in MFC tests with NAF ions 117 at low electrolyte concentrations. Right away you can see at the very end we've got a citation. Remember that in a lot of the sciences, citations are just numbers in parentheses. So we've got a citation here. And we also see information that shows that our author is comparing what he or she found in his study with previous research. So we see that they say this increase, the one they did, is also consistent with previous results. So what we found is consistent with, collaborates with other results other people found. So all of these things together really help us see how we can compare our results to results existing already in the literature. Okay, let's look at another step. And this step is called accounting for results. So this step functions to really reflect on the nature of the results with or without referencing previous works. So we use this step to maybe explain more, to postulate about what might have caused the results or outcomes, to suggest perhaps reasons, hypotheses, even speculations about what might account for our findings, to also to justify the nature of our results. So this is that place where we might kind of talk about what seems likely to explain things. So here we have an example, and it says estimated growth temperatures are more uncertain for these samples than for others surveyed in the study due to the presence of strong vertical gradients in seawater temperature for the environmental niche inhabited by these organisms. And we can see here that the authors are really kind of reflecting on the nature of the results and even qualifying them. They're saying, well, these results are uncertain, and here's maybe what's happening. So they're suggesting a reason, or they're speculating about the cause for the results. The next step for us to talk about within Move 3 is called Explicating Results. And this move is really where we explain our results within the context of the study. And this is a pretty important step because we need to do this for our readers. And we can do this in a couple different ways. We can interpret or infer from our results. We might also draw on some of the existing literature. And we use this really to give meaning to our results, really explain what's going on, to make some deductions from what our results say, provide logic, and also to help prepare for the next part, for the discussion part of our study. The example here says this result means that under low electrolyte conditions, the resistance of the membrane solution interface or the ion exchange membrane resistance must have increased. So right away at the very beginning, we see this result means. And this is a very nice example that really shows you how the author's just setting out to explain what the results are. This isn't where they are telling you for the first time what the results are, right? That happened in a previous move. But this is where they're telling us, well, if we got this result, here's what it means. So they're providing that explication. Okay, the last step for us to talk about today is relating to expectations. And the function of this step is to draw connections between the obtained results and the researcher's expectations about those results, and then to make some reasons or some conclusions about that. So authors can use this step to point out the expected or the unexpected results that they found, to express their attitude to perhaps surprising or unsatisfactory results, and to connect those findings to your initial hypotheses, which could be confirmed or not confirmed. So in this step, we've got an example sentence that says, although an important interaction between H2 and the salt ions was expected, the signal of H2 does not appear in any of the 1H NMR spectra. So we can see here that the authors are connecting back to an original hypothesis. They expected a certain outcome. And then they're expressing a little bit perhaps of surprise or dissatisfaction with the results. It did not appear. And you can see that this was something that they were not expecting to have happened. So what do we do next? Well, the next part of this lecture is where I show you the sentences and you try to decide what step they most closely match. Go ahead and pause your video after each sentence so you get some time to read through it and make your decision. Press play again and I'll walk you through the answers. So here's your first step. Okay, let's look at this one together. This one says, thus there appears to be variations in the structural or conformational stability of the protein affecting its activity during grain development. Okay, did you have an idea? This is a good example of explicating results. We've got here, thus there appears to be variation. We have something that really is starting to expound on, to provide more information about what's going on in the results. Okay, here's your next one. All right, let's look at this one together. This one has two parts that should be to help you notice which step this is. And both places are where the authors say because. Okay, so the 1 sigma errors on the transition are smaller than for bunch of numbers, both because the scene and photometric conditions were slightly better than the other, and because its continuum is brighter. So you can see they're accounting for the results. They're providing a reason for why those results were likely to have occurred. Okay, here's another step for you. Okay, let's look at this one together. It says, surprisingly, although the magnitude of the flow velocity inside the microchannel was found to decrease rapidly in the flow decay process, the normalized flow velocity data, i.e. normalized by the maximum flow velocity at the center line of the microchannel, at different time instants were found to align nicely in the plots. Okay, so you can see here that this is an example of relating to expectations. The authors start off by saying, surprisingly, although, so you can see this was not an expectation they had. They found that although something was found to decrease rapidly, the results still aligned nicely. So there's something that was unexpected to them, but in the end, they did find things aligned nicely, which was good for them. Okay, another step. Okay, let's look at this one together. It says, a similar study reported no significant decrease in the concentration of detectable shikemic acid in plant samples extracted with extract 1 and stored at -4 degrees Celsius for 1 month. Okay. So right here we have 2 indications that this is an example of comparing results with literature. At the very beginning, the authors say, a similar study reported. And those words should indicate to us that there's some sort of comparison that's happening, right? They're comparing their results with the literature. And then in addition, we've got a citation footnote here. So in this particular citation style, we've got a number just as a superscript, a small number up at the top. And this is how this citation style uses references. So we've got 2 indications that we're talking about comparing the results of the study with results from previous work. All right, now that we've walked our way through the steps within Move 3, you'll of course have a few tasks to do. We'd like you to look at the reading for this section and then also look at your corpus. Complete the corpus exploration tasks and the knowledge and practice quizzes. Most importantly, note that even though we mentioned there was a Move 4 in our results overview lecture and in the reading from the overview, we're not going to discuss Move 4 within the results. Instead, we're going to talk about that move in more detail within the discussion and conclusion sections where it most typically occurs. But you might see evidence of Move 4 within your own results section, so that's something for you to be noticing when you look at the corpus.